Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. No non-farm payrolls today. 2 months in a row, no non-farm payrolls. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Government shutdown continues, flights getting canceled. Luckily, my wife made it back home yesterday for a few days. Don't know if she'll be able to get back out, but good morning, Sterling. Good morning, Mark. Happy Friday. Good future still. Thank you, Mark. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Odie Green. Good morning, Anissa. Good morning, Jacob. Sterling putting in. How's your hand doing, Sterling? How's your left hand doing? Duke Energy was a beat. Stocks flat. CEG, yes, Constellation Energy was a miss beat. Stock down 5.5%. Wendy's, forget the energy stuff. Where's the beef? Buying Wendy's up 9.63 off a beat. We found out where the beef is this morning. All right, maybe it's time for stocks to slide below the weekly that they're in the weekly they're entering the weekly rotation zone finally. Now this sets us up for a very critical secondary reaction. We'll review that today. Good morning, Andrea. How are you this fine morning? Again, government shutdown continues, so no government data. How long is it going to go? Longest one in history. We do get the consumer sentiment numbers, Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. We've also had Williams, who was hinting at maybe going back to QE, Fed with liquidity. And we have Jefferson. We got Moran speaking this. He'll probably say we're going to cut rates now to 0. Oh boy. Can we get rid of the Fed completely? So that's where we sit. S&P 500 map. Elon got his $1 trillion pay package approved. So glad you have sane shareholders. Net profit since inception of Tesla is 35 billion. Net profit. So yeah, sure. Let's pay out $1 trillion based off market cap stuff. We'll see some good old option juicing. What's Airbnb up? 4.75%. Consumer defensive. Rolling into consumer defensive with Monster Beverage. How is that consumer defensive? Monster Beverage up nearly 5%. Oh boy, what's going on with Monster Beverage? You see AI pulling back, all the Mag 7 pulling back today. So there's your Constellation Energy Group. Right down there, down 5.68%. Good morning, Ted. What else do we have? What else? What else is a Friday? Finally. Consumer defensive, stocks up. Everything else, and energy nearly flat, but everything else down. Technology, consumer cyclical leading the way down. Fed watch does 70% for another cut in December. Fear and greed. Extreme fear, baby. Extreme fear. Stock breadth still deteriorating. What else? All right. Market volatility. This is not real fear. But, okay. All right. Schiller PE, you got to buy it all. 39.63. Back below 40. I think Sterling got all the key earnings. Again, there weren't many this morning. Hey, Rick. Good morning, Ted. So always stick to the stops. Again, I have the weekly up on the. I mean, geez, people are panicking already. Look at this. It's wiped out 2 weeks of gains. 2 week. We're trading back to where we opened 2 weeks ago. And this is panic in the streets. This is pure panic. There's your NASDAQ. The S&P, same thing. Oh, we're at the opening price from 2 weeks ago. And reconnecting finally with the weekly rotation zone. Yay. So there, I mean, but it's how much has the bar dropped? How much have we dropped this week? Why is that not updated? There we go. Why have we've dropped 2.24% from the open? And this is, oh my gosh, are we going to recover? All right, so key harmonic levels. If we continue to pull back, we have the 50 EMA, the 62.5, and another harmonic projection based off a 4 hour, right down at 6,700. 6,695 to 6,700 is a major support zone. Probably going to set up with cycles at the bottom and oversold. Probably going to set up possibly for a percent B buy more on Monday. Again, I'm keeping an eye on the trend line. We have not been able to get above the trend line. So this is going to be key. Now, if we close below 66.95, then we'll technically have shifted the probability, so it might be more aggressive sells on the next bounce. If we hold, remember, between this 67.47 and 66.95, we are in the key buy zone for the pullback. And we got the 50 EMA, and we're against the 8 EMA on the weekly. Does that mean we magically buy? Not for me. I will watch for a setup. We'll watch for a setup. We're also coming into a little minor key support level from, oh boy, 2 weeks ago. What has happened? We've retraced 2 weeks. Now, since we have still Sunday night, who knows? Maybe they'll end the shutdown. Maybe the markets will pop. But 6,800 is now the first level key resistance. And then back on the upside, remember to watch the 50 to 62.5. Oh, Six Flags miss. The pullback looks good to Andrea. She wants it to keep it going. Airbnb missed on EPS, beat on revenue. That's why it was up. Okay. NASDAQ, oh no, 5%. Oh no, 5% in the NASDAQ. So going into this morning, there's a very key resistance. So if we had a lot of buying pressure yesterday, and then we finally broke it. So 67.45 is the first key area, and then the major resistance area is around 67.70. NASDAQ. The NASDAQ weekly, we're getting close to reconnecting with the rotation zone. Coming back to another very key level of support with a minor harmonic projection. NASDAQ from the open this week to the low is only down 3.4%. From the all-time highs, if you go from the all-time highs down to where we're trading roughly now, it's down 4.84% until the lows 5.07%. And that's causing panic. All right, well, the double did end up playing out yesterday. We might, oh, by the way, let's just peek back here. We might have a 4-hour percent B buy bar setting up for the next 4-hour window. If that triggered, I'd be watching the 4-hour rotation zone, because that would be my first area of raising a stop aggressively and taking something off the table. On the bigger picture, we're between the 50 and the 62.5. The 50 EMA is below the 62.5 level, which the 62.5 level is at 24,998.75. So that's the level you'll want to remember on the close. We have a harmonic projection right at that key area. So if we were to get sell-off and maybe tap the 50 AMA and then bounce back, I'd watch to see where we closed. We might have a percent B buy bar for Monday. Still watching the best fit line on the 4-hour. At this point, the first level of resistance is right around 25,200 to 25,220. And the next key area I'm looking at is about 25,300 to 25,330. Overall, on the bigger picture, we have cycles back to the bottom finally, and we're right near oversold conditions heading into next week. Hello, Christoph. We'll get to URA in a second. I'm curious, do you think the shutdown is being prolonged so the markets could correct a little? Uh, I don't know. I think the shutdown is being prolonged for other reasons, but I think a side effect. I mean, if the markets, we'll probably hear from Trump pretty soon that the Democrats are destroying the markets with the shutdown. And if it wasn't for the shutdown, the markets would be ripping to all new highs. The Dow finished the double top pattern, so that is done and dusted. The Dow approaching the 50% retracement from the lows on the 10th of October back to the all-time highs at the end of October on the 29th. That level being 46,801. We're approaching that. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. We have a really nice cluster in here of harmonics. Again, does not mean you just buy the market. We'll be looking for potential patterns. If that breaks 46, 60, 67, and the 50 EMA is down closer to 46,550. Uh, that's a very lopsided. Don't even bother with that double. If it bounces though, key is about 40, just about 47,100 is key resistance. The second level, the first level is about 47,000. The Russell, with the double play out, then go beyond right there. Coming into a very key support close back from the 10th. Interesting. Now we have the first cross the rotation zone and separation. So the Russell really's got a lot of heavy lifting to do in that. The key support levels I'm looking at, if we break below this 2409, which we talked about yesterday, 2401 now. And then the major one is down with the harmonic and the key close from the 10th. Back here, 2382.9. The VIX spiked above 20 briefly, closing up around 1950 yesterday and moving on up. So I'm now keeping an eye on the 20 level. If we start rallying and drop below that, going to be watching more for a little more sustained bounce. But this is not extreme fear yet. The DAX, talked about this, finally looking like we're going to reconnect with this 200. It's taken a while, but that's been my target for a long time. So there's no good buy setups there. The yields, there's the notes dropping a bit. The yields after the pullback into the rotation zone, trying to move up. Not going to be keeping an eye on this until next weekend or next week. Not next weekend, next week. But the trend is still, in the short term, is still definitely up. Good morning, Yogesh. Is that I said that? Hello, David. All right. What else do we have? We have crude. Didn't fill the gap yesterday. Back. I'm keeping an eye on this channel now. Not going to look for anything real bullish unless it can get above the channel line and above 61. Still, if we roll back down, still looking for that gap fill. There's just been crappy trading in crude overall. Natty gas testing a little key, little topping area. Really sloppy double. Going to be looking for a pullback there, at least to the rotation zone. Gold, still with the slightly bigger double we talked about yesterday on a daily basis, still not confirmed or triggered. And that's for a bounce play only at this point. Silver, the head and shoulders, head, shoulder, inverse head and shoulders, still not triggered. Copper, still testing that gosh darn trend line. Nothing new there. Dollar index pulling back into the rotation zone after the massive, multi-day run. So I'm looking, again, 99 is very, very key support. And I'll be looking for rotation or some buy entries next weekend. Euro testing very key resistance, closing in on top of the rotation zone. So we'll be looking, unless we start closing back above the rotation zone, we'll be looking for sell setups next week. Bitcoin does have, on a daily basis, a potential double bottom for a bounce play, but that would need a close back above 104,550 into the rotation zone, so it's a lower probability bounce one. That's the only thing bullish on Bitcoin. This is going to be interesting because look at this bar. Look at this bar. Could be closing. Will be interesting to see where we close this week. Possibly below the 50 and below a very key low close from back in June, middle of June. Still in the 50 to 62.5% possible bounce buy zone. So I'm still keeping an eye for a bounce. But it's got some heavy lifting to do to get back in rally mode. Spiders back between the 50 and 62.5, so I'll be paying close attention to this one. Also next week. The key level to watch on a closing basis is, look at that. Wow. Look at that harmonic. 666.66. Uh-oh. Whew. There you go. Lots of sixes in there. That's key for the closing level today. The bounce level on the first thing would be to the gap fill, 670.31. But right now, yesterday's low is going to be very key, 668.72 on any bounce. That's going to be the first target, then the gap fill. Spiders look like they're going to open real close to the rotation zone on a weekly basis. Qs, 611.58. We're gapping down below. It was the key level yesterday. Now we're looking at the key level in the Q, 607.04, opening 607.64 area. Yesterday's low on any rally, 610.30 would be the first key level, and then on a stronger rally, 621.79 to fill the gap. Again, today, watch that close in relation to 607.04. If we did break below that intraday, I'd keep an eye on 605, 604.90 to 605. Other news, Tesla confirmed the double top on the daily. That's why this bar doesn't invalidate it. But who knows? It's Tesla. NVIDIA, by the way, finished the double top. The double's done for NVIDIA. NVIDIA also returned to the weekly rotation zone and a very key support level. It's now gapping down a bit today, but that's just in the rotation zone. I'm going to be watching where this closes today. But this is a pretty substantial reversal win bar on NVIDIA. So the secondary reaction is now going to be very key on NVIDIA. Uranium back into, there is a massive potential weekly double top. You were asking, Christoph, fully hedged, if this triggers, would be looking on any bounces to either lighten up or to hedge on any bounces. This double's confirmed but not officially triggered. All right, you see it on the daily. It's confirmed but not officially triggered. It needs a close below 47.15. It is into the weekly rotation zone still. I would not be running for the hills fully yet, but if you are maintaining longer term positions, especially if you gathered it down here somewhere, this would be key on the bounce. I possibly would be looking to take some more off. All right. There's nothing run for the hills major yet. Yes. Is this a very bearish bar that's potentially going to trigger a double top? Yes. Is it going to go straight down? Probably no. But that's the pattern I'd pay attention to. Yes, UH's dollars double top is confirmed. Well, that's no fun, is it, Sterling? You know what? I think if the court goes against Trump, I think it will actually boost the markets at this point. Think it would boost the markets. Remember, I said I was keeping hedges until the beginning of November, and at least we've got the pop, and the hedges have regained some of their value. So, does that mean I'm turning into super bear mode? No, we still got too many people banging the drum. If we get the shutdown over, it'll put upwards pressure on the stocks again. I don't know when the Supreme Court's going to rule. I was more interested in starting to hear the arguments to get a gist. I think they're leaning to where they're not a big fan of these broad sweep tariffs. Does that mean Trump won't be able to reinstitute tariffs? No, it'll be on a more specific basis. And by the way, the power should reside with Congress. If you want the tariffs, have Congress pass them. Have Congress do it. And then sign it in the law. But we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of stuff now that could at least provide the secondary pop in the markets. Why am I going for all new highs? And we have too many people banging the drums with a year-end rally. This makes it easier to now buy into when there's a good bounce signal, to buy into at least a year-end bounce, because, as I said before, reward to risk wasn't good. It's improving for a bounce trade. It's definitely improving. Much more comfortable now for a bounce trade. Also, remember this. Look, here's your monthly chart. Look at this. All right, we had the capitulation buy signal down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight up months. And everybody's freaking out at this. Still, at some point we're going to reconnect this with the monthly rotation zone. Is this the time? Well, we know the next key levels to watch in the short term. I'm just going to see if we start getting, would it surprise me, especially if we get some positive news out, that we get a bounce? Not at all. Would it then, it wouldn't even surprise me if we start getting early results on sales and everything else closer to Black Friday, Cyber Monday that are disappointing possibly, and then we start another leg down. Can I check out Planner's Peanuts? My shorts! Oh, the shorts are crushing it. Finally returning to the weekly rotation zone. Keep in mind, here you go. Here you go. It's running out of juice, still trading on a PE ratio of 439. It's at least returned on the short term to the 50% harmonic. Going to be looking for a potential bounce, but we may be setting up for even after the next bounce, maybe setting up for a much more significant top in Palantir. So your key level at this point is the weekly bottom of the rotation zone, and off the last little run up is 166.79. Okay. But, depending on how long you're in it, This next secondary reaction is going to be very critical in Palantir. And the mere fact that the CEO is whining about the shorts, like they're driving this down, it's only, again, what is it? 2% of the float is short, and it's under a day to cover. This is not the shorts driving it down. This is the fact your stock is massively overvalued and has been on a massive multi. Look at this. This is the freak out after this kind of run up. People just don't, because they're so leveraged and stuff, and I'm not talking about you, uh, Balaji. I'm saying people are so leveraged that they're freaking out on this. When we start getting the secondary reaction, tune back in since you're not here every day, and we'll analyze the key levels. You're welcome, Christoph. Yeah, some of the stocks are way beyond the 200 MA. Take a look at net. Again, net finally. Update these. Finally returning to its weekly rotation zone 2. Still overextended on the monthly. Only back to the breakout key support. CAG, yes, it does continue to take a beating. The next key level, still decent dividend yield. Again, this is a long-term thing I'm keeping an eye on. There is no bottoming pattern yet. The magnet price, which would, if it gets down to this 1438 area, it would complete the 87.5 rule. And I'd be super excited then. Conagra's not going out of business. Paying a dividend yield of over 8% with a PE of 9.64 does not mean you just run out and buy it. I'd be keeping an eye. It cannot sustain anything. It had a potential double bottom here, which is now not on the table. That's why we wait for a bottoming play. It's now breakdown areas around 18. So this at some point will be a massive long-term play again. Keep watching it on the, and you see there's some very key support resistance down here closer to 87.5. When are earnings? And we don't have earnings until, when is that? January? So could this thing continue? I mean, the last earnings is actually, after some misses, it actually stabilized. Let's see, the revenue. The revenue continued to drop. But watch into the end of the year for Conagra. Remind me again, and we can do some more analysis on it later. You're welcome, Anissa. You're welcome, Balaji. GIS grinding lower as well. We'll watch it for both sometime soon. There are going to be, these are still out of favor right now. GIS, the 87F is 43.23. GIS, 8.78 P to E. Over a 5% dividend yield. Do we run out and buy it? No, we wait for some kind of pattern. But look at this. There's some major support down here. So, will I be looking for a pattern? Yeah. Earnings on this approximately middle of December. So these things are going to be fantastic at some point. At some point. And when they start running, they can run for a while. And you collect the dividend. I will be looking once we get out of the AI mania and we get some sensibility coming back in the markets. These are the kind of plays that you'll be able to, again, this is not trading advice. This would be investing advice, which I am not giving. I'm giving you my thoughts on the matter. These are the kind of things when they run, look at this. And you didn't even have to grab the lows in 18. All right, you had the key resistance level back from September 18. It came back. Look how many times it tested that. And then after multiple tests of that area, let's even say you grabbed it in 20. All right. How long did it run for? Through 23? And then setting up a massive, this was a completely valid potential double top, right? So let's even say you held it. Look at you. This was a really nice run on a dividend paying stock. So I pay attention to these massive, especially these massive double tops, which was a massive double top on a monthly basis. But look at this. Coming right down there, you got the bounce. Did the bounce ever get? Look at this. Look at this. We're just doing, this is some more teaching right now. We got the secondary bounce. What's the key levels? Let me just pull off this other one real quick so you don't forget it. Here's the secondary bounce from the double highs to hitting the lows, 50% harmonic, and then boom. So even this is what I'm saying. All right, let's say you were still holding things, and this is why I don't mind. You know what? Like on uranium, we'll get a secondary bounce. And if what's the key level? If we can't sustain above the key sell zone, I don't want to be holding it, or I want to be really lightening up. There's a method to this madness. That's why we also get to be patient. You don't have to low tick this one. All right. Oops. There we go. You don't have to low tick it. But this thing can run, and at some point it will run again. I hope that's why I'm looking at some of these for longer term are going to be fantastic. But don't make the mistake of trying to just grab it without a key pattern against the weekly rotation zone. Yeah, these are long-term products to watch. That's right, Andrea. So put these on your longer-term watch list. You don't even have to watch them day to day. Set some alerts. This is something every week, every couple weeks you can glance at. Write them down and glance at it. And at some point, these are the kind of things you're going to want to put some of your investment, from my perspective, you're going to want to look at some types of products like these for longer term investments that pay a decent dividend, that have got severely beat up. And will they go straight up? No. Are they sexy? No. But they can grind higher for a long time. Look at the last run up. Look at this. We had the pullback, the Great Recession pullback, and then look at this. Let's even say you waited for it to get above here. You got it in 2011. Boom. And it ran up through 16. So these are things you could be multi-year holds, well collecting a dividend. Yes, could they slash the dividend? They could, theoretically. That's why I'll wait for a buy setup too. But they're not eliminating the dividend. All right. There you go. Hope that made sense to people of the things I am looking for longer term. That will be fantastic at some point. And let's just see how this is trading into the open. Oh. Oh no, panic. I bet you we see a nice little bounce this afternoon, but again, it doesn't look like we're going to trigger any of these 4 hour. Well, it would not be, the trigger would be too far away. Watching in this key area for a bounce, but would not be bottom picking at this moment with that selling pressure. The tick has got to be pretty negative. It's actually not. The tick hasn't. Watch today. Here, if we start getting pushed down, watch if the tick spikes below 1,000 or even down closer to 1,200, and then we get a sharp key reversal. Keep an eye out for that potentially today to start setting up a bounce. This has gone pretty far. Is getting beat up in the open, so I'll be watching and I'll be looking for some covering of any shorts going into the close today. All right, testing the 50 solidly there. The the Nasdaq testing the 50. Here was the last couple times. Does not mean it. This is not just a magical buy, but the last couple times it tested the 50, it's set up for another bounce pattern. So we'll be watching for this. I'll be looking for this, especially Sunday night, and Monday. It's not tanking on Pelosi news. Well, the stock queen is retiring, though. You have a great weekend, too. All right. With that, thank you for tuning in for the extended session. I really hope that helps people from looking at things from a longer term perspective. And I shall talk to everyone on Monday. Have a wonderful, wonderful fall weekend. Bye for now.